Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order. The City of Belleville acknowledges we are meeting today on the traditional territory of many nations. The municipality operates on the unceded and unsurrendered lands of our Indigenous peoples. We recognize the historic relationship of the Indigenous peoples to this land and acknowledge our shared obligation to respect, honor, and sustain these lands and the natural resources contained within. We recognize all First Nation and Inuit who call Belleville their home and support the need for cultivating a strong relationship with them. We look forward to fostering a path towards reconciliation and show respect for the Indigenous peoples who first lived and currently live on the land where we all now reside together. I'll call this meeting to order. We are all present. Please remain standing for a moment of reflection from City Clerk Matt McDonald.
May we be worthy custodians of all that has been entrusted to us. Help us to be concerned only for what will promote good government. May we bring to our council chamber minds that think and hearts that feel, always having respect for others so that it may serve the people of our city in a helpful manner and for the good of all.
I need a motion for the reading and confirmation of minutes, regular council minutes of February 26, 24, regular in-camera meeting minutes of February 26, 24, special council meeting minutes of February 20th, 24, and special in-camera meeting minutes of February 2024. Moved by Councillor Chatton, seconded by Councillor Enright Miller. Discussion, all in favor, carried. Also, pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Seeing none, we'll move to deputations. I see Bev is in the audience. Bev Woods, come on up to the podium. She's representing her great organization, Gift from the Heart, and she's here to tell us more. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Alice and Council. Today's presentation will not be given by me, but by our newest member of our team. This is Jimmy McLean, and Jimmy is the community liaison for the Gift from the Heart. So he's going to be proceeding with the presentation today.
Thank you, Mayor Ellis and Council. We're going to answer 5 important questions: what, who, why, how, and when. What we're discussing, what we're going to be talking to you about today is what Gift from the Heart has already accomplished and the impact it has had in the Bay of Quinte, and outline our plan to effect change for those who need our help the most, the underserved members of our community. Next slide. There we go. Who we are. Gift from the Heart is a Canadian nonprofit charity finding solutions to accessing emergency and preventative oral health care for the underserved members of our community. But this is also who we are. Meet Courtney, an entrepreneur who has struggled with oral health care her whole life, who started her business with grant money given by the Brighton City Council. Through the dynamic relationships and common goals and values of many in our community, we've been able to create a success story that has tangible ripple effects felt well after Courtney sat in our chair. Can you believe that there are business owners who cannot afford or do not have access to adequate dental care? We are here to dismantle the preconceived notions of who the underserved are and who it is that are accessing charitable programs in our community. Why we do what we do? Well, why we do what we do are because of some of the problems that our community members face. They cannot access dental care because of an increasing number of dental offices that are unwilling to accept patients with ODSP or OW, and likely the new program being put in place, stating they lose money or it's not profitable. Previous experiences leave permanent scars. There's also a social stigma associated for those without access to dental care. Because asking for help is admitting there's a problem, and for some, this is hard to do. There's a geographical location aspect. For those who live in cities or small towns, they can take for granted the kind of access to care that they have. For 18.9% of the population who live in rural areas, we're not so fortunate. We believe our community members really resonate with this statistic. Finances, also for people who do not have dental insurance or their coverage is nowhere near the threshold necessary to finance some of the most basic needs. such as 2 cleanings, a filling, or a tooth extraction over a calendar year. For those who are able to use what little they have, those procedures are almost always surgical and restorative, leaving no money for the most important one, preventative. To put problems in perspective, have your gums ever bled? How many people don't floss because of discomfort or inflammation? If you had a cut on your arm that constantly bled, you wouldn't just leave it. Bleeding gums are one of the most common symptoms anyone can run into, but are overwhelmingly ignored. Because of the dysbiosis of bad bacteria, your mouth is literally screaming for help. This is where a Provora treatment from Gift from the Heart can start to help the members of our community, not just today, but tomorrow and the next. Some of the solutions we're looking to provide, this will be treatment for all of the underserved members of our community. Again, we're here to redefine what underserved means. Some examples, seniors and retired, especially those with concerns about frailty, diabetes, heart disease, and dementia, limited or no finances available for required emergency care, no access to ODSP or OW, or the working poor. These are people who are working but have no benefits, or their benefits are not enough coverage for the required emergency care. We've also, in true entrepreneurial spirit, Gift from the Heart has created a unique design to provide emergency oral health care to the underserved members of our community. In Brighton, we have an outreach clinic that's currently operational. Here in Belleville at Loyalist College, we have a mobile outreach clinic that's currently operational. This is a working template that can be replicated. Further to that, we want to discuss being preventative by offering Provora. Gift from the Heart is being proactive by offering this life-saving product to those who need it the most. The typical patient gets their teeth cleaned 4 times or more a calendar year. These costs alone are in excess and are out of reach for many in our community. Provora would cut down cleanings by more than 50%, freeing people from pain and freeing up space in our dental chairs and emergency rooms. But what is Provora? Provora is a chlorhexidine-based product. Chlorhexidine is an antiseptic used to sterilize for pocket surgeries and in healthcare practice to reduce pocket depth in periodontitis and to treat gingivitis. It helps eliminate harmful bacteria, which leads to dysbiosis, which leads to inflammation. This is where the gums become loose and flabby, thus creating the room for tartar and calculus to build, becoming hard deposits. Who historically uses Provora? People in long-term care facilities, people who have suffered heart attacks, strokes, people who have diabetes, people who are going through cancer treatment in hospitals such as Princess Margaret, Toronto General, or Sunnybrook. Why is it used with these specific demographics? Because they have one common symptom, a lowered immune system. Without Provora, the dysbiosis of harmful bacteria impedes on the success of the treatments being administered. With Provora, you lower harmful bacteria that originate in the mouth 60 to 80%, which helps to heal the rest of the body because whole body health starts in the mouth. Here is an example of some of the value of work being done in the Bay of Quinte. We have created outside the box or dental office ways to provide quality oral health care to our residents that they can afford. To date, Gift from the Heart has provided almost $24,000 in surgical extractions, almost $17,000 in restorative care, and almost $14,000 in preventative care, totaling almost $55,000 of the value of work being done in the Bay of Quinte. The takeaway is only 25% of the work that we are doing is getting to the root cause. But through continued community engagement, creating and sustaining oral health awareness in our community, and your continued support, Gift from the Heart are helping people to get out of pain, and more importantly, helping to ease the strain on an already overburdened healthcare system. Together, we can build up your immune system and our community. One more, here we go. And then, so what's next, or when are we going to help? Well, that's a great question, so let me tell you what's next first. On March 22nd, Gift from the Heart is the title sponsor for the inaugural Health Awareness Night with the Belleville Senators. We are also going to be expanding our footprint through an aggressive oral health awareness campaign throughout the Bay of Quinte and introducing Provora. And we are also fundraising for the Amazing Race in 2024, which showcases commerce, community, and smiles in the Bay of Quinte. So to answer the question of when are we going to help, the answer is yesterday. That said, we wanted to reinvigorate oral health awareness in our community and to let Belleville City Council know these are just some of the initiatives Gift from the Heart has for the Bay of Quinte. To conclude, we'd like to show you the truck that was donated to Gift from the Heart by the City of Belleville. We'd like to thank the City of Belleville for their continued support. And as a gesture of gratitude, we'd like to display donated by the City of Belleville on the side for all to see.
Thank you for the presentation. Any questions? Councillor Thompson.
Got a couple of questions. First of all, I want to compliment you on what you've done in the past and what you plan to do in the future. The one question, and I had a discussion with your leader a couple of weeks ago at a Red Nose banquet on the opportunity of who performs the work in your truck. And more so, are dentists in our community involved in your program? And I don't want to put any one particular dentist in a good place or bad place, just a general. Are dentists behind your program?
The answer is yes, but not enough as far as we're concerned.
So would that make your program more successful if our dentists were willing to donate a half a day a week, a month, or a day a month?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the how we believe we can make that happen is to continue to create this awareness, put this awareness out there, and to let each and every buddy in our community know that this is available. The more people who get to use these services, I believe that there's going to be more buy-in from the rest of the dental community here in Bay of Quinte.
So your program's been going how long now?
Since 2008, since inception.
Oh, these programs, the outreach?
Your mobile truck and that.
Sure. So the Outreach Dental Mobile One in Belleville opened for patients in January, and the outreach in Brighton started in May of last year.
But your truck you've had for a number of years.
No, the trailer is brand new.
Okay, the trailer's
Brand new.
But last year I was at United Way, and was that the same truck you had at United Way?
No.
No.
Those were the converted ambulances,
Yes,
which have
that's right.
which have now actually been issued to other parts of the country and are being used there. So that program has grown just elsewhere in our community.
So how are you funded then right now for the work that you do? Where do you get your funds from?
Through donations and writing grants.
Okay, so I would certainly like to make a note and make it very open that I challenge our dentists that we have in this city and anybody that's involved in the dentistry to come forward and help, because there's a number of people that need dental work, and you're doing it. And I certainly would like to challenge our dentists in this community to come forward and donate half a day a month to your organization. And the number that you could fill the need in this community would be fabulous. And I had this discussion with you, as I say, 2 weeks ago, and I was a little discouraged that as our dentists are not involved as much as I think they should be. So I leave that with you, and I hope that the media picks up that we want this council to, and the dentists in this area, to come forward and donate some time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Chapman.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I had the good fortune of attending in January of 2024 the Loyalist College grand opening for your unit, the mobile unit. And some of the stories and some of the things that came forward were just, there were so many heartfelt, beautiful things that have come from what you have offered this community. And I did want to share, I shared this at the grand opening as well. I was in a position where I was helping to get somebody who was receiving government assistance immediate care in an incredible amount of pain, incredible amount of upset around dental care. And I had called around to several dentists in the area who required payment up front for them to even look at this person, not to mention they were giving dates of like a week, 2 weeks, in advance, and this person was in tears. It was absolutely critical that we got them care. Without having you to call, and when I called, it was immediate. How can we get him in here? What do we need to do to get him in the chair? We'll take care of him. Don't worry about the payment. We'll figure that out later. It was absolutely incredible to see you at work, and you didn't know who I was. You had no idea I was on the other end of the phone. And I want to say that the impact that you had on that person, and even the organization that I work with, it is a lasting impression. It is something that is so incredibly needed in our community, and I just wanted to say thank you for what you offer and what you do, and you're truly you walk the walk and you talk the talk. What you say you do, and it is an incredible, incredible program for this community, so thank you.
Okay, any questions for deputation? Councillor Millette?
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to the delegation. Thanks again for everything you do, and I'm happy that we, over the past year and a bit, we managed to get that donated truck, and I was speaking with Mr. Reed when we tried to wrangle that vehicle, and I thought, what kind of shape is this going to be in? And in speaking with Ms. Woods at the Elevate Plus graduation some weeks back, you said, no, it's a great vehicle, and to see it is really, it's great. My question is, and early on, it may have been last year or even the year before, it's a bit of a blur in terms of when we were dealing with this. We were trying to think of where we might establish the truck, and I'm glad to see that it's now established at Loyalist. But are there any mobile locations that, it being a mobile setup, are we going to see it come set up for a day or two, say in the municipal parking lot here for any outreach clinic kind of thing? Is that at all possible, or?
It is totally possible. The only thing stopping us is the amount of insurance costs that we have to pay to actually move it around. So as we build up the funds to be able to move it, we'll move it. Because it's not just in this area, but we need to get across over to, Prince Edward County, to the outlining municipalities out there. So that is our plan. That's why we built it, to be mobile.
Yeah.
We just have to get the funds to be able to pay that amount of insurance.
Well, maybe one of the good-hearted dentists who, and we know that we're not going to hold a tag day anytime soon for a dentist in this community. Maybe one of Councillor Thompson's dentists who will step up will give you enough funds to cover that insurance.
That
Thanks
would be
very
awesome.
much.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Councillor Kelly?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, just a couple of comments and a quick question. First of all, well done with the gift of heart. I know it's been around for a few years and certainly making a lot of difference. Let's just cut to the chase. If you're a Canadian family with no dental insurance for dental work or prescription, you're looking to agencies or programs like Gift from the Heart. 80% of Canadians have dental programs, but if you don't, really you can't afford it. And when, Jimmy, you touched on, your comment was some dentists do not want to work on ODSP recipients in the province. That's sad to hear. I know there's lots of good dentists that do so much for our area. They have free dental programs. People line up for 24 plus hours to get in for tooth extraction, a filling, or whatnot. The dental pain is tough. And if they don't have prescription plan or a dental plan, think of what they're going through. So the question is, 80% of folks in Canada have a dental plan or prescription. If you go to the website, if you make $70,000, but you don't have a plan, your benefit is $650 per kid. $650 is like, you talk, the average person gets 4 cleanings a year. You might be lucky to get 2 for that.
Yeah.
And I hope that you don't have a toothache or a cavity.
And that's if you've paid the welcome package. Anytime you go to a new dentist, there's a welcome package.
Exactly. It's $25 to sign up and join the
Oh,
group.
yeah.
Okay, so here's the deal. 80% of Canadians have a dental plan. What percentage in our area, when you're out and about and doing extractions and fillings, do you actually find out what the deal is? Would you have a percentage number, or would public health have that don't have actual dental care or prescription possibilities in our area? Instead of a national thing or provincial thing, can we focus it into local?
Yeah, it's about 34%.
34%?
People cannot afford in this area to see a dentist because they do not have the amount of coverage that they need to do it.
That's an interesting stat. So 34% of people in the region do not have dental or prescription care. Thank you.
Councilor Enright Miller?
Thank you, Your Worship, through you, and thank you, Bev and Jimmy. Wonderful presentation, and I too was thrilled to go through the mobile unit with you, Bev, and saw what you do, and like kudos to what you do. You need help. I'm curious, you mentioned Prebora. What would the application cost be for one Prebora for a client? What does that look like for you folks?
For us, with funding that have been able to get for Prebora, we're only charging $20 per application. And it's ultimately best if they can have 3 applications every 2 weeks apart to be able to do that. So, but again, if you know our model, we never turn anybody away. So we try to include it where we can, and any funding or grant money is now going to go towards purchasing Prebora. If it's done at an independent dental hygiene office or in Sunnybrook or any of those, they're charging about $150 per treatment.
Okay, thank you. So any way we can help to try to
Yes, lower
help
those
you
costs
lower
for
those
people.
costs?
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
love nothing more than to feature Prebora at an open clinic coming up. That's one of our goals, is so that people can get registered for it, come and have it done, and then decide from there. Because 60% of the dysbiosis, as Jimmy talked about, will be diminished within just one treatment.
Wow. Thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. I need a motion to receive then. Councilor Chatton, Councilor Millette, all in favor? Carried. Thank you
you.
for all you do in our community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Resolution that the council rise and report that the agenda shall include under reports items that warrant an individual attention from council. 8A1, request for proposal ENG 2024-02, consulting services, preliminary design for Old Highway 2. ENG 2024-03, PDF resolution that the request for proposal ENG 2024-02 submission from GHD Limited be accepted for consulting services, preliminary design of Old Highway 2 in the amount of $403,515 plus $52,457.21 HST for a total amount of $455,974.21. This being the most qualified proposal received, that then the mayor and city clerk be authorized to sign the acceptance agreement on behalf of the corporation of the city of Belleville, and the city clerk be authorized to fix the corporate seal, and that the 2024 capital budget be amended to increase capital project number 21-1008 for Old Highway 2 by $115,000 for additional funding from the Asset Management Reserve Fund for a total budget amount of $465,000. We mover and a seconder, Councillor Alsup, Councillor Carr. Any questions? Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to probably Director Ashton. This budget item actually came in capital budget 2021, so it would have been the fall of 2020. When did it get paused, and the reason for the pause?
Director Ashton.
So it did get paused because the province at the time was introducing updates to the environmental review process, and even though some of the legislation updates was sort of like, to be done soon, it kind of expanded over the last few years, and so finally they did have it approved So this project is now exempt, and so it just provides us to avoid that EA process for municipal MCEAs.
Okay, thank you. And if I could, Mr. Chair, and the reason for the additional cost, what's the rationale for the increase in the budget compared to the original budget in 2021?
Director Ashton?
So it's a lot of new requirements. So even though the MCEA isn't required, there would still be a requirement for things such as Indigenous consultation, such as with bridges. Some of the incorporating active transportation into the design, so that'll be a priority. It's also a case of looking at safety solutions, because a lot of safety issues are associated with that area, so it's a bit more complex of a project than what was originally envisioned.
Okay, and just final question through you, Mr. Chair, is had we not waited for the province, and it looks like, you know, I think we were promised that the MCEA process would be amended a lot quicker and wasn't. But if we had proceeded in 2021 as per the capital budget, would it have been realistic to say that we could have possibly completed the preliminary design in the budgeted amount, because that was 3 years ago now, and that if we would have went through the preliminary design in the EA, we probably would already have the preliminary design by now if we hadn't waited for the province?
Director Ashton?
Potentially. I mean, we did over the last few years with COVID, you know, we did have a lot of challenges with, you know, staff turnover, being short-staffed as well, so it'd be hard to do a 100% guarantee, but yeah, it's possible that could have happened, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Millette?
Thank you, Chair, through you to Mr. Ashton. So as I understand it, then as Chair of Quinte Conservation, I'm not at all impressed with the fact that the environmental assessment process has been completely removed from any of these projects. We're passing at least one major water course in this planning, as I understand it, Bell Creek, in the planning of this?
So this will be done by professional engineers. They have an obligation to both human safety and the environment, so those will be considered as part of the project.
Okay, but the actual requirements of an EA now non-existent because
For
of
specific classes of projects, such as an existing road network like this, yes.
Okay, and my second question is, all things going well or moving as expected, when might we see actual construction on this project, or bring it to council for approval for the project financing?
So we do have detailed design, which we hope to be approximately 18 months, 2025 and 2026. Of course, you know, this does require approvals from for storm, sanitary, and water alterations. We need approval from Hydro One. We will still need approvals from Quinte Conservation, as well as Department of Fisheries and Oceans. So 18 months, you know, it is a very complex project. Construction, approximately 2 or more years, depending on the bridge work required. We don't know that yet. So construction may be a phased approach, with the first phase ready to construct in 26. And so the earliest anticipated completion of rehabilitation of Old Highway 2 is end of 2027 and 2028. And of course, you do have the approval of the 10-year capital program as well that will have to be considered with this as well. So.
Okay.
Anybody else? Any questions?
One last question, sorry, Mr. Chair. GHD Limited, we're recommending them on the points. Have we dealt with GHD? I see some familiar names in there, Jewel Ainley, Greer Galloway, others. GHD, have we dealt with them on any major projects in the past?
Yeah, we have dealt with them, and they're a very reputable organization.
Councillor Brown?
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. my question for Director Ashton. Is there anything within this project that could be done to accelerate moving forward on Highway 2?
Director Ashton?
It is a very complex project. We're sort of going into this sort of predicting what might happen, but we don't know. So we do have a timeline of from our professional engineers saying that the hold on a sec, so that the you know, the earliest we could probably expect for the completion date is the end of 2027, 2028. Unfortunately, there is approvals from outside organizations, and we don't have control over those approval processes. So we have to gain those approvals.
So then if I may, a follow-on question to Director Reed. In terms of other programs that we have available in terms of road maintenance, is there an opportunity, an option available to us to do some other kind of work on Highway 2, particularly when it comes to the sides of the roads? I've noticed that your crews have been out filling with like a pothole recently, and I'm wondering if there isn't a different option that we could undertake to move forward.
Director Reed?
Through the chair to Councillor Brown. Unfortunately, not really. There's challenges with, you know, we'd have to be putting out a complete contract for shoulder repaving along there, and to be quite honest with you, if we're ripping it up another 2 or 3 years from now, it'd be significant waste of dollars. I know from our maintenance perspective, we have our asphalt pavement edger on the side of the truck that we could probably allocate a few loads of asphalt in the spring when the plants open up to help mitigate that. But ultimately, there's, you know, it's at a point where reconstruction and rebuilding is where we need to be. So,
Anybody else? All in favor? That's carried. 8A2, Nurse Practitioner Incentive Murphy, MPRR-2024-06, resolution that the Manager of Physician Recruitment Retention Report, MPRR 2024-06, be received, and that further than that a bylaw to approve an authorized agreement with Catherine Murphy to provide medical services as a nurse practitioner in the City of Belleville under the current recruitment policy prepared for Council's consideration. We move to Councillor Kelly, Councillor Enright Brown. Any questions? Councillor Kelly.
Thank you for Karen Post, Manager of Physician Recruitment and Retention. The province is funding 0.6 of this appointment to the nurse practitioner team in Belleville, Catherine Murphy. Why wouldn't they do the funding to bring Miss Murphy in full-time? Because they know the need.
Through the chair to Councillor Kelly, I wish I had an answer for you on that one. They were approved for 2.6 new nurse practitioners. I have no idea why funding wasn't approved for 3.
Thank you.
Just a follow-up question, sir, if I'm allowed. Thank you. What does 0.6 nurse practitioner look like? No, that's a fair question. Like,
Yeah.
what does it look like?
Yeah, good question through the chair to Councillor Kelly. I can assure you it is a whole person who works 0.6 or 60% of a full-time job. So they will take on 60% of 800 patients. So they'll take over 500 patients, but it will not be the full complement of 800 patients a full-time nurse practitioner would take on.
All right, just wanted to add too, I reached out to the clinic just on patients' care. What are the numbers for Belleville? And with this new addition, Miss Murphy, right now they have 5,280 patients at the Belleville-led Nurse Practitioner Clinic. Thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor? That's carried. 8A3, Declaration and Disposal of Surplus Property Charles Street, DCS 2024-02, resolution that pursuant to the Director of Corporate Services Clerk's Report Number DCS 2024-02, the unopened portion of Charles Street described as parcel identifier number 40514-0144, illegally described as part lot 41, WS Charles Street, PL 130, Thurlow Part 5, 21R 536, be declared surplus to the city's requirements, and that a bylaw to convey the subject property, the abutting property owner, be prepared for council's consideration. The mover and the seconder, Councillor Chatton, Councillor Enright Martin, and, sorry, Enright Miller. Any other questions? All in favor? That's carried. 8A4, extinguishment of a drainage easement, College Street, DCS 2024-03, resolution pursuant to the Director of Corporate Services Clerk's Report Number DCS 2024-0C, a bylaw to extinguish the drainage easement legally described as part of the lots 12 and 13 concession 3, now in the city of Belleville and the county of Hastings, designated as Part 1, Part 2, R 13863, instrument QR 4052003, be prepared for council's consideration. Mover and seconder, Councillor Millette, Councillor Alsep, any questions? All in favor? That's carried. And we'll move to consent items. Consent items, council may adopt consent items by one motion, but prior to consideration of such motion, members may request that specific items be removed from the consideration under such motion, and council shall consider such items individually. Resolution that council, so we'll go through, Councillor Kelly.
Through you, Chair, I'd like to pull 8B5 and 8B6.
Councillor Millette.
8B3, and Councillor Kelly's already pulled 8B5. Thank you.
Councillor Chatton.
Thank you, Chair. 8B5 has already been pulled, but I'd like to speak to it as well.
Councillor Brown.
They've already been pulled, thank you.
Councillor Alsop.
No, thank you.
Councillor Enright Miller. Everybody in mic off.
Thank you. Mine have been pulled as well.
Oh, pulled wall. Councillor Carr.
Yeah, 8B3, thank you.
Oh, it's already pulled, okay. And yours. Okay. All right, so we need a motion that the council items be approved with the exception of 8B3, 8B5, and 8B6. Mover and a seconder. Councillor Worship and Councillor Chatton, all in favor? That's carried. So 8B3 is recommendation report to new draft consolidated zoning bylaw, City of Belleville, acting manager of policy planning report, PP 2024-12, refer to March 4th, 2024, PAC agenda page 115, resolution that the Planning Advisory Committee recommends the following to City Council, that the City of Belleville consolidated zoning bylaw consisting of text and schedules be approved, and that the zoning bylaw 10245-2076-80- and 3014 as amended be repealed in their entirety, and that this bylaw shall come into force and take effect on the day of the final passing thereof. And Councillor Millette, looks like you pulled it first.
Yeah, I just, we have a second.
Oh, we need a second for that. Councillor Alsop. So Millette's moving it, and Councillor Alsop is seconded. Councillor Millette.
Roger that. Briefly, I'll let Chair of Planning Advisory expand a little more on it. I'm sure he's as he spoke last week at our Planning Advisory Committee, this is a landmark document, and I'm pleased to see that staff, you know, kudos all around. I hope they I hope Mr. Ashton didn't cheap out on the champagne for the culmination of this process, because this was a monumental process to bring together three zoning bylaws from 3 municipalities and a hodgepodge and patchwork as it went. I just want to make note of a couple of items, and there'll be more to come. And in speaking with Mr. Ashton today, we still have a ways to go. Just for those of you, those people who were expecting some time ago, we brought up the naturalization of lawns and properties. There's still a ways to go yet in that, but it will become part of this bylaw at some point. We still have some issues to deal with, but I would like to draw some attention to a map on, if anybody gets a chance to look at this online, as I was reviewing it again, map 217 on page 375 graphically shows, for instance, the Bakelite lands that were a little bit contentious a while back. It graphically shows the conservation areas, or the protected areas in that development. It's just one of many that I hope this bylaw, this zoning bylaw helps to speed the way on some of the development, because as anyone who drives around the city will see, we have acres of land that's approved for development waiting for shovels in the ground. One other point I'd like to make is item in the bylaw 16.3, backyard hens. They're legal now, not in the urban area. Some people may know of some that are here. I'm not saying who or when, but for the rural areas, the backyard hens are now codified. I'm sure they've been around, but for the chicken people, it's a red letter day. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Millette. I'll remind my neighbor. Who else would like to speak on? Councillor Enright Mayor.
Thank you, Chair, through you. I just have a few words too, and I would like to first congratulate Director Ashton and Manager Deming, and thank the city engineering staff for the many years of hard work for this new consolidated zoning bylaw. The staff informed us of this at our planning committee that this has been in the works since 2018, so wow, finally we're here. We at the Planning Advisory Committee fully endorse this new consolidated bylaw for its inclusion and how it's easy to maneuver, not only for the general public, but also for developers and the like. The bylaw uses straightforward language, modernized technology, and simplified tables. And the public was thoroughly engaged in this process and given many options to attend meetings and provide feedback, and staff listened to their concerns and implemented their concerns. So I want to thank staff formally from the Accessibility Committee for implementing and exceeding by 1% the integrated accessibility standards regulation in this bylaw as it relates to handicap parking to prevent and remove barriers for people with disabilities. Accessibility was absent from all of the other 3 bylaws, and it now is formalized, and we have exceeded the standards, so thank you very much from the Accessibility Committee. Actually, our accessibility coordinator has already received inquiries from other municipalities about how we were able to have this language included in this zoning bylaw, and they're prepared to follow our lead, so thank you to city staff. I just wanted to be recognized that we do appreciate that, so thank you very much.
And Councillor Alsop.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and as many of my colleagues have, I want to congratulate Director Ashton, certainly Tom Deming, who's in the audience tonight, who was the lead on this project, all the great staff at planning as well who've worked so hard on this. The previous 3 zoning bylaws, as have been alluded to, I believe were from 1976, 1980, and 1987. So all of those predate me, and I'm not holding up that well. So you can only imagine what a mess those documents were. Certainly, this new zoning bylaw is much easier to read. It's written in plain language, a significant reduction in terms of all the different zones for residential use, and lots of great things in there, from the backyard hens, which have been mentioned, to the significant public feedback that was received around RVs and the limitations thereof. Instead, it's gone to a setback system as opposed to a limit on the size, which I think was the right way to go, and very happy to see that in there. And then also things that are sort of a more modern approach, more floor space in residential areas for in-home businesses, which is something that burgeoned throughout the pandemic. A lot more people are looking to do that as a way to supplement their income. That's also in the zoning bylaw. So congratulations to everyone involved. Certainly when we look at how old those previous documents are, we were assured that this one would be a living document and that amendments and changes would be ongoing. But it's safe to say that this will set the groundwork for the next couple of decades. And congratulations to all involved, and thank you for your efforts.
Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Contrary to maybe public belief, this was a lot more than the RV bylaw that certainly took up a lot of attention, just one component amongst many. I just want to say thank you first to Director Ashton and his planning section, Mr. Deming behind him and all their staff for the work they did. Also council members and public members on the Planning Advisory Committee. It's a lot of work, a lot of reviews back and forth, and sitting through a lot of meetings to get to that point, which is excellent. I said this the other night at planning, and I'll say it again. Despite senior levels of government pounding us all the time, there are no gatekeepers in this building. This new zoning bylaw has been pointed out. It's modern, innovative, clear language, makes it very simple to understand what's required to build. And from that, and staff has said that there'll be guidelines that will come out as well. So it'll be very easy to understand the expectations going in. So it should be no mystery when you're applying for zoning or you're applying for building permits or whatever, what's to be expected. So if it's done right, application-wise at the front end, everything will move quick. If you don't do the right application the right way, well, of course things are going to slow down, but that's not necessarily on us, even though we may get penalized for it. But anyway, overall, I think this is just another step, and we can't lose sight of the fact that we also passed an official plan. And as was pointed out at Planning Advisory the other day, to have those fall into succession and actually overlap in getting that work done is quite frankly unheard of in many municipalities. So we're further ahead in the development game because of that. And then, like I said, the guidelines that staff will have for builders and developers and others will make it so much easier in terms of the seamless process to get approval. So great work by everybody.
No other questions? All in favor? That's carried. Next one on the agenda that's pulled is 8B5, and the first one to pull that was Councillor Kelly. Councillor Kelly, we move her, and we need a seconder. Councillor Millette. Councillor Kelly.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Unfortunately, a couple of weeks ago, I missed the deputation by Executive Director of the Children's Foundation, Mr. Glisky. I see him here tonight. The ask is $125,000. We read the report. They would pay it back in 5 to 10 years as a loan. The city's not into the business all the time of loaning money, but after doing some review, I'm going to speak in favor of this. I spoke to Mr. Glisky. On an average year, they have about 3,000 youth visit the Safety Village, and that would include about 10,000 overall. Very successful Halloween program. I did suggest to Mr. Glisky that usually it's a school going through there, and I asked, do the local school boards contribute? And at this point they don't. So I would suggest to Mr. Glisky a call to David DeSantis. He is the Director of Education to the Algonquin Lakeshore Catholic School Board, where their budget is $170 million per year. And I would suggest that Mr. Glisky contact Catherine McIver at the Hastings Prince Edward Public School Board, where their operating expenses budget is $220 million. So hopefully they can help you out, Mr. Glisky, moving that project forward, and good luck at Hillcrest.
Councillor Kelly, do you wish to are you going to make an amendment to the motion?
I'll make an amendment to the motion that the Safety Village gets the 125 over 10, and the city entered a negotiation provided the request.
And we have the seconder is in favor of that? Then Councillor, oh, you're the seconder? Oh, yes, right on, sorry. I stand corrected, sir. All right, any other questions? Councillor Millet.
Thank you. As seconder of the motion, I wholeheartedly support the amendment that we receive the director's report. And I understand the fact that we do not at this point have a policy in place, a loans policy. That didn't stop us, however, from last council giving $1 million to the Humane Society when they came. And in the past, we've given outright grants of large sums of monies to hospital corporations whom we support. I would suggest that the value of the service rendered by the Safety Village is immeasurable if we can save the life of one child who learns road safety. I understand from Mr. Gliski's delegation last meeting that they're expanding the types of safety messages they're teaching children. I see that in Mr. Ferguson's report, considerations to be made if the Children's Safety Village is in fact loan funds, and in the development of a loans policy would include, but are not limited to, a demonstrated ability to repay the loans substantiated through items such as organization's credit rating, etc. Mr. Gliski, in speaking with him after reading this report, has assured that they are in fact very well suited, well placed, and I would leave it to the negotiation between Mr. Ferguson and the organization to determine the repayable term, be it 5 or 10 years in there. It's been asked that they not be asked before March 2025 for obvious reasons. I believe that this organization is good for it. And lastly, this organization didn't ask to move. That was very clear in Mr. Gliski's statement at the last council meeting. The city of Belleville, in giving the land that the Safety Village now sits upon to the Habitat for Humanity, and that's a great initiative, and I can't wait to see it happen. I would like to, underscore the fact that that was what required the Children's Safety Village to now move to the Hillcrest area. Mr. Gliski and the Safety Village had asked for consideration and maybe moving it to a different location. They've accepted the fact that they are now required to move to the Hillcrest area. It behooves us to help them make that happen, because we were the group around this table in the last council that made that move necessary. So I'm going to support issuance of the loan, and if we have to develop a loans policy at some point, so be it. But in this case, I hope Mr. Ferguson isn't throwing darts at me from behind, but I'd like to see we make it happen. Thank you.
Councillor Aslett.
I think Councillor Brown had asked first.
No, you did ask first, and then Councillor Brown. At least I seen, but why don't you stand up and talk or say what you need to say?
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate it very much. This is a great community organization, as has been pointed out, that has had to move because of decisions that council has made for great reasons. The Habitat for Humanity is going to do incredible work on that former police station property. But as we look through the considerations, and obviously Councillor Millet pointed out a demonstration of an ability to repay the loan, but just above that, clearly demonstrated benefits to the city ratepayers. And I think that's really what needs to be driven home here, is that anything we can do to help keep kids safe, especially when they're on our roadways, is a massive benefit to city ratepayers. And this is something that I've had the great pleasure to be involved with over a number of years now in a volunteer capacity when it comes to the bike rodeos that they put on every spring. And to see all those kids out there, learning how to ride their bikes, learning how to do hand signals, gaining confidence, being excited about what's going on, this is a really big benefit to our city, and I would certainly be in favor of entering into those negotiations and seeing how we can best assist them with that $125,000 loan, so I'll be supporting it.
Councillor Brown.
Thank you. On a slightly different tact, if I could, to the Director of Finance. If we move forward and approve this loan funds and the grant, where would the funds be drawn from?
Director Ferguson.
Through the chair to Councillor Brown, we have a number of investments that we currently hold for the city. So it would be reinvestment of funds from our investment portfolio to a loan receivable.
And as a follow-on, any one of the investment portfolios, so we would have to cash out one of our investments to fund this?
Through the chair to Councillor Brown, we likely have some liquidity in the portfolio, so it would be unlikely that we would have to cash out or get penalized for cashing out an investment. But yes, we would have to take money out of the investment portfolio, so we would stop losing those returns.
So as commentary, and not at all a reflection, and I want to tread carefully here. I appreciate why Children's Safety Village had to make the move, and I have some involvement in that, which is why I want to be careful. This is not a reflection on Children's Safety Village at all, but we are literally 2 weeks out of operating budget, where we made the decision at that point to defer it to future budgets, and now we have it back on the table. So I am somewhat concerned in terms of timing, that if it was, I don't know what's changed over the course of the 2 weeks, but if we decided that it wasn't going to be part of our operating budget when we went through the day of budget consideration, I'm uncomfortable with it coming now as an unbudgeted item where we would be looking at either looking at some of our liquid assets or having to divest in one of our investments. So for that reason, and also pointing out that we currently don't act as a financial lender and we don't have a policy in place by which to govern it. Good points are made in today's report. At this point, I would have difficulty supporting the amendment on the table.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Chatton.
Thank you, and through you, Chair, just a comment. I know personally and professionally the profound impact that the Safety Village has had to the safety of our children in our community, with road safety, tricky person training, helping to combat that human trafficking element that continues to rise in terms of risk across our region. The relocation effort was denied when they had asked to join with the YMCA's build. They didn't ask for free money. They're not asking for a handout. They are asking for a hand up, and to lose this agency and the value that they provide to this community would be just an astronomical mistake. So I really do support the amendment. I support anything that we can do to ensure that this organization continues to operate within our community. Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak on it? Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I could, through you to Director Ferguson, let me premise this. Whether it's the Safety Village or anybody else, the merits of the program are not factored into this in terms of the questions, because we're looking at it from a financial perspective and policy. The line that is highlighted for me in this report is the process has been identified by auditors of other municipalities as well. And what are our auditors saying in terms of the loans that we have done in the past, because obviously they've reviewed those every year as part of our annual audit statements, and what are they saying in terms of what we should have? Do we require a policy, or is it safe and reasonable and prudent from a financial perspective that these ad hoc loans continue?
Through the chair to Councillor Carr, the note that was referenced there, it was the same auditor. It was just a different municipality that they were making the recommendation for. Council does have the right and the ability through the Act to issue the loans. The commentary is more for the prudence of the municipality, and if the particular organizations are getting into more loans or granting organizations, that it would be most prudent to have a policy to provide parameters for the types of loans that would be done and to which community members can do them, to ensure the protection of the city's assets.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Henriette Miller.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, just to Director Ferguson. If I heard you correctly, if we divulge in our investment at no penalty, by the time this is paid back, we will be charging some interest. Can we make this be net negative all the way around? So when the money comes back, it won't have cost us any? Because I see both sides of the fence. I'm all in favor for the Children's Safety Village. I think it's a great program. I think it needs to go ahead. I also see from the financial end of it how we have to make this feasible. But if we're taking money out at no risk and no penalty, a small portion, lending it back out over a 10-year period, or to be paid back over 10 years with interest, how do we make this work so it's basically net zero?
Through the chair to Councillor Enright Miller, I believe what you would be looking at or referring to is the note of the negotiation of the loan, where we would be looking at establishing a rate that would make us whole, all things considered, when we evaluate what the interest rate would be on this particular loan. And if we make that attributable to, rates of return that the city would see, factoring in maybe some risk parameters.
Thank you for that. I know our rates of returns have been up of late, like last year, better than it was in the past, so there may be some negotiation to have to make it palatable for both parties. Thank you.
Worship?
And I guess just looking at this, I can see both sides of the story, and when I originally talked to, I guess, Director or Manager Glitsky about it, I guess some of my questions to him was payment terms and what the terms are over. And, my suggestion at that meeting was I could support it if the money came back to us as soon as you raised the first $150,000 or $125,000 at the time. And now I look at it as 5 to 10 years amortization, and I look at, again, that we'll probably donate to this, and I think the ask was $100,000. So the way I look at it, we're going to have $250,000 into it if that other grant is authorized, and that would be a discussion for a different day. I understand what Councilor Millette says, that it's the city's being of them having to move from a site with a building. I totally get that, and I see that last council has made a lot of groups whole, as in different circumstances, but for instance, the lawn bowling club and things like that. I just have, and I do support the village, and I would support it if the loan came back quicker. I'm just having trouble with the 5 to 10 years, and that's just my opinion, so.
Yeah, I'm going to speak, but so if you want to go a second time,
Yeah, it's the second time, go ahead.
okay, Your Worship, can you take the chair?
That's why I brought the mallet down.
Yeah, I'm going to use it later. Just a quick
Councilor Thompson, you're up.
Thank you. Just a quick statement. I'm certainly in favor of it. I like the idea of the 10 years. We did tell them to move. Yeah, we did tell them because it's Councilor Millette. So under that circumstances, I'm all in favor of this. Shorter pay period. I talked to Mr. Glitsky. I know he would like 5 or 10. I think 10 is appropriate for them, and we can work it out, the interest rates. The only thing I'd like to possibly add to the motion is that, or maybe it needs to be separate, that there a bylaw be wrote concerning loans. So where do we, I'm going to look for direction from the clerk.
I think let's get this off the floor, and then you could make that as a motion.
Okay.
Thanks.
Councilor Kelly. Or, Councilor Millette first.
Sorry. Yeah, in reference to questions by the mayor, that's why in the motion that I seconded, Councilor Kelly's, the motion reads to enter in negotiations, and I think we can work out, and hopefully we can obviate the concerns of the mayor with the length of the repayment plan. I think Mr. Glitsky is more interested in securing the capital at this point. We can work out the terms of the repayment, but I'm interested in seeing this organization help because, again, getting back to the point that it was the city's decision to move this organization to another place, it is our responsibility to do everything we can to help them make that happen.
Councilor Kelly.
I'd like a recorded vote on this, Chair.
Mr. Clerk. We've had a request for a recorded vote. Can you imagine that? Oh, we have one more person, Mr. Alsep, Councillor Alsep, sorry.
Mr. Counselor, either one is good. I've been called worse. So on this, I just wanted to provide one point of clarity and then two questions for Mr. Ferguson. So there was made mention that this is sort of back before us after we just went through budget process. I just wanted to point that was the $100,000 of grant was deferred because that was not needed in the first couple of years, so that was deferred to a later date. But the reason that this is coming back is because we'd asked that staff prepare a report to outline the considerations. And then the two questions to Director Ferguson was, firstly, do you have on hand the value of the city's investment portfolio? And I don't want to put you on the spot, but sort of average yield last 3 to 5 years? Noting that this last year has been quite a good year for the markets, but on average.
Director Ferguson.
Yes, through the chair, we have approximately $100 million in investments. And the rate of return of recent is closer to 5.5%. They've been lower over the previous years, but we've seen interest rates escalate to the 5.5%, where we would have mostly GIC investments.
Great, thank you.
No other questions? Recorded vote?
Can I get clarification on the motion, please?
Yeah, we're voting on the amended motion.
Certainly, through the chair, for all of council. So you're voting on the friendly amendment to the motion, which is approving the $125,000 with negotiated terms, which would be the percentage and conditions. So percentage, length of term of the loan as well. Just the loan at this point is my understanding.
I
Which
understand.
be clarified by the mover and seconder.
I understand Councillor Kelly just had specified 10 years. So is that correct, Mr. Councillor Kelly?
I'm okay with the negotiation.
Okay.
Well, sorry, a second, the motion that I seconded was that council receive the report of Mr. Ferguson.
Yep.
And that the city entered in negotiations to pay the amount requested by the Children's Safety Village and negotiate the term of repayment. That we didn't set the motion doesn't set a repayment date. Is that the way you read it? Yeah.
The 125,000.
Yeah.
Yes.
But we didn't set the term of repayment in the motion.
Okay,
Correct,
Your
yeah.
Worship?
I guess this would be a question of the clerk, and that's where I'm having trouble with the repayment term. So if we support this motion as it sits, will council look and vote on the repayment plan? And that's probably a no.
Through the chair, the repayment terms, all of it would come back in a bylaw. The agreement between the city and the Children's Safety Village would ultimately be approved via bylaw with all of the terms and conditions included in that agreement. So repayment term, percentage, and any other terms that were negotiated.
So I guess what I'm asking, that's what I disagree with, is the payment terms, obviously. So, yeah, I understand. So I could change it to bylaw and put my motion in the bylaw then? No.
Through the chair, I would suggest at bylaw stage, you'd have the opportunity to
Discuss, but not,
carry or
yeah.
pass or kill the bylaw at that point, but not to renegotiate the terms at that point.
So I'd have to put an amending motion on top of an amending motion to get what I wanted then, which is probably not right either.
If I can, through the chair, I would suggest at that point, there would be a bylaw that would be authorizing the execution of an agreement, and you would either pass or fail it at that point, which would mean the agreement would be null and void, and ultimately staff would come back to council for further direction for terms and conditions. Because there would be an attached agreement. Again, the bylaw that would be for consideration of council at that point would simply be a very simple execution of an attached agreement, authorization to execute attached agreement. It would, the bylaw, the face of the bylaw would not carry the terms and conditions. That would be the attachment. So it would be pass or fail the execution bylaw.
Okay.
Would be
Thank
your
you.
opportunity to give us further direction.
And yeah, Originally, when I agreed to approve this, I had thought Councillor Kelly had spent 10 years, and they first and seconder didn't agree to that, I guess. So my way of thinking, I want to approve this, but I would like now to set a date of 10 years for repayment, and then it would be negotiated with the interest rate with our treasurer over that 10-year period. But I want the motion to read, I don't want it coming back and having another long-winded discussion of how long this term would be after we approve it. So in my estimation, I'd like to see the set time right now, then they can do the other. So I'm not going to, I can't support the motion the way it's read. I'd like the 10-year term in there, so if I can.
Who made the motion on the bylaw? Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Millet.
We're okay with that.
Friendly amendment then?
Yeah. Instead of the negotiation, it would be 10-year term.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Now I can vote. The recorded vote on the amendment motion. Okay. I've been instructed to ask the money guy, is there anything else that you need to have clarified?
To the chair, the term of the loan being specified is okay, but we still need negotiation, or I'll need to set the remainder of the terms of the agreement and bring that back to council. Rate, etc., security.
But when I spoke there, I spoke about a 10-year term with negotiations on the interest rate with the treasurer. That's the way I worded it. So that's the way I read it, or want to read it, so, even though the mayor never doesn't want. So, a recorded vote.
Councillor Thompson,
Yes.
Councillor Alsop,
Yes.
Councillor Brown,
No.
Councillor Carr,
No.
Councillor Chatton,
Yes.
Councillor Enright Miller,
Yes.
Councillor Kelly,
Yes.
Councillor Millet,
Yes.
Mayor Ellis. No. Motion carries.
Thank you. So that concludes consent items. No? Oh, sorry, there's one more. 8B6, sorry. Councillor Kelly brought that up.
Yes, just wanted to, Sunshine List, just some comments on it. Do we need a mover and a seconder? Or?
Yes, we do, sir.
All right.
And Millet, a mover by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Millet. Councillor Kelly.
All right, thank you, through you, Chair. Reading the report that we got in our package last week, the City of Belleville has 199 city staff, over the 100,000. That is the Sunshine List, that's what it's known as. And in my term, 5 years now, conversations have led to municipalities taking people from other municipalities to fill positions. I've heard it at Roma and also AMO, that municipalities are close to 450, I believe, 441 in Ontario, always looking for talented people. So I would suggest parents or any students watching right now, there's a lot of moving parts in a municipality. There's lots of exciting jobs, very rewarding jobs financially. There's all kinds of growth. So municipal governments have some wonderful positions. So go to the city website, look up the Sunshine List, and you can see it's engineering, wastewater, environmental services, mayor's office, engineering, police, fire. I wish this information was out when I was a kid, because there's so many interesting professions that are within a city. So I suggest those who are thinking about a career, nothing like working for your hometown municipal government. And I just wanted to acknowledge It wasn't set up alphabetically. I was expecting the report to be done with A's, B's, and C's, but the B was the top earner out of the alphabet, Mr. Bove, as the CAO, so job well done. That's it. Just, I think it's important that education moving forward, there's great jobs in municipalities.
Councillor Alsep.
Great, thank you, Chair. And I just wanted to provide some comments on the list as well. And certainly, as Councillor Kelly alluded to, a lot of great high-paying jobs in Belleville, Ontario, particularly working with the municipality. But I just wanted to have a general comment about the impact of inflation on the Ontario Sunshine List. And this is something that the Sunshine List itself puts out. So this list came out for the first time in 1996. I don't know what everyone else was doing in 1996, but it was a big year for me. I learned how to ride a bike, I think. But the effect of the $100,000 has not changed since then in terms of the listing, but the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, has increased by 70% in that time. So to be putting people up there that make $100,000 a year certainly is a good salary, but I know that there's been a lot of talk online about, you know, people making so much money working for the city, that sort of thing. It has changed significantly since 1996, and that's not been reflected by the threshold of the list, which probably should be closer to $150,000 or $160,000 at this point in time. So just want to make note of that and to advocate on behalf of changing the list to reflect the CPI so that it's more fair to public sector employees. Also of interest, just so we note, median household income in Belleville, Ontario is $73,000. So obviously a lot of households are dual income, but if you're a single income household, you're about $27,000 away from the median of being on the Sunshine List.
Any other comments? All in favor? That's carried. Okay, consent items, council information matters. Council may adopt consent items by one motion, but prior to consideration for such motions, members may request that specific items be removed consideration under such motion, and the council shall consider such items individually. Your worship. Councillor Carr.
No, thank you.
Councillor Enright Miller.
No, thank you.
Councillor Alsep.
No, thank you, Chair.
Councillor Brown.
No, thank you.
Councillor Chatton.
No, thank you, Chair.
Councillor Millet.
8C2F, please.
Councillor Kelly.
No, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So a motion to receive all except 8C2F. Need a mover, Councillor Alsep, Councillor Chatton, all in favor? That's carried. 8C2F. And the resolution from the County of Renfrew to advocate for the provincial and federal levels of government to make them aware that the rural and small urban waters and wastewater systems are financially unsustainable, and advocate for the Associated Municipalities of Ontario, AMO, and Rural Ontario Municipalities, ROMA, and the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, FCM, to examine if the affordability of water and wastewater system operational cost is systematically, provincially, and nationally. And resolution, the County of Renfrew, affordable water and wastewater. Councillor Millet brought that up, and the seconder, Councillor Chatton. Councillor Millet.
Thank you, Chair, and I would hope we could support the County of Renfrew in this motion. We all are not too far removed from a time when the Bay of Quinte was listed as one of the only five around the Great Lakes pollution hotspots, on par with Hamilton Harbor of all places, and that is it's a testament to the commitments of municipalities around the Bay and the Bay of Quinte Remedial Action Plan and others. But the importance of having a wastewater system and a wastewater plant in place has never been as important now that we're almost ready to delist that body of water that we now count as such a valuable resource in terms of tourism and resident recreation. I know some of my fellow councillors have boats and love to paddle on that. Some swim in it now. When I came here 40 some plus years ago, if anybody said, I'm going for a swim in the bay, they'd say, you're new here, aren't you? So, it's actually, it actually is a thing for Renfrew County, but it's vitally important for us as well here. We're facing down a multi-tens of millions of dollar repair to our wastewater treatment facility. This underscores the fact that other municipalities are struggling with the affordability of this, and I think it is our responsibility to sign on and go arm in arm with municipalities such as the County of Renfrew when we're staring down such an expenditure ourselves. So I would hope that we could support this. Thank you.
Any other comments? All in favor? That's carried. Now, rise and report. Oh, I need a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Carr, Councillor Kelly, all in favor? That's carried.
Thank you, Mr. Mr. Thompson, for that. First and second and third reading of bylaws, and we start with the first reading of bylaws 2024, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, and 100. Councillor Chatton, Councillor Millette, all in favor? Carried. Next bylaws, reading of 2024, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, and 100. Moved by Councillor Alsop, seconded by Councillor Chatton. Discussion, all in favor? Carried. And third and final reading of bylaws, bylaw 24, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, and 100. Moved by Councillor Alsop, seconded by Councillor Kelly. All in favor? Carried. New business. Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Mayor. A little while ago, we received a very large novelty check, and I certainly hope that the real money has been sent our way or shortly thereof. But I'd like to request a staff report for council information outlining the Building Faster Fund housing totals for 2023 by housing type and general location for larger developments, as well as revenue impacts as a consequence to Bill 23, Bill 108, and 109, please. Thank you.
Okay. Got that, staff? Councillor Thompson?
Yeah, and I should have brought it up before, but is this the spot, or should I wait for next council meeting? I'd like to request the staff write a bylaw up on the loaning of money to organizations.
No, this is fine.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Anybody else? Motions. We did new business. Motions, yes, Councillor Chatton?
I don't have a motion. I just would like to know when we can expect the report from city staff on the detox that I had asked for 2 meetings ago.
Usually, I'll give that to Councillor Bove, but we'll go ahead. Or Councillor, yeah, I know you're running once you get rid of the CAO's position, so, CAO Bove.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Councillor Chatton. Staff are actually having some discussions with provincial government, and there, I think, is some good news to share. We should be able to bring a report to the next council meeting. We're touring a couple of sites this week that they are looking at to consider building a detox center for the city.
Okay,
Thank you so much. I wanted to make sure that this doesn't leave the forefront of our minds because, and as I've said before, we absolutely need to keep the pressure on getting these things in place so that our community can do better. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Chatton. So motions, none. Notice of motions, Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Mayor. We've got a notice of motion that the procedural bylaw 2019-48 be amended by adding to section 7.6 entitled Deputations, that the mayor and CEO will review all deputations, including materials and presentations, as part of the agenda setting process. The failure for a person to provide such materials by the deadline in the section or prior to the finalization of the agenda will not be authorized to make a deputation to council, and that section 5.7 entitled Meeting Agendas include a subsection where it reads that all materials and presentations in relation to deputations shall be made available to members of council when the agenda is delivered. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Carr, and you get that to the clerk. Notice of motions. Announcements. Councillor Enright Miller.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just have a couple of announcements. Last week, March 8th, marked International Women's Day. Good for us, all you ladies here. This year, the city did a recognition to some of the incredible women that work in our water services in Belleville. Worldwide, less than 1 in 5 water workers are women. The city of Belleville currently has 12 women working in water, amounting to just over 26% of the workforce, a number that has seen a significant increase in the past decade. The women in water have broken down barriers, and now they are encouraging young women to do the same. So in celebration of last week's International Women's Day, 6 of our skilled ladies in water were showcased, and I'd just like to give a little shout out to them and congratulate them. Olivia Hughes, Shannon Williams, Amy Stather, Janelle Snake, Joanne Biggs, and Sarah Fulford. And these ladies do things like lab operations, environmental compliance, water treatment operations, and water distribution, and we couldn't do it without them. So congratulations to these ladies. Thank you.
Okay, announcements. Councillor Alsop.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just 2 quick ones. I have a proclamation, but before that, we had a really great sportsman show at the Queen Sports and Wellness Center this weekend. A lot of people came by and told me that it was a great show, a lot of attendance, a really good variety, and several of them have said that they actually prefer it to the Toronto show. It's a really great thing that happens. Our community draws a lot of people in. Kudos to the Cox family for the great job they do every year, presenting that for our community. Proclamation, March 17th to 23rd is National Poison Prevention Week. It is to draw attention to the causes of poisonings and how to adopt poison prevention strategies. Ontario Poison Centre, OPC, is a non-profit telephone health promotion service which operates 24/7 to offer support to those with possible toxic exposure. They work with community partners on an awareness campaign to inform, educate, and promote safer storage of poisons in homes, which will empower families to act safely. The Belleville sign, Bridge Street Bridge, and Fire Station Number 1 Memorial Garden will all be lit green during this time to help spread awareness. Thank you.
Thank you. Announcements. Councillor Brown.
Yes, I have an announcement and a proclamation, if I could. This Thursday at the Jerry Masterson Community Center, MPP Rick Brzee will be holding an open house from 4 p.m. till 6 p.m. this coming Thursday. I wanted to point that out, given that there was really limited time in terms of being able to communicate this out to the community. So I'm hoping those in Ward 2, Thurlow, that are interested in spending some time with their MPP will find an opportunity to make their way to the center, again, Thursday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m.
Councillor Brown, could I ask you if you could give that to our media team and we could put that on our website, if that would be possible?
Certainly can.
Okay, thank you.
And then I have my proclamation. I'd like to proclaim March 21st as World Down Syndrome Day. This day is meant to raise awareness, educate the community, and advocate for the rights, inclusion, and well-being of people with Down syndrome in Belleville and around the world. About 1 in every 700 Canadians are born with this genetic disorder, and there's an estimated 45,000 people across Canada with Down syndrome. To show your support, be sure to wear some mismatched socks on the 21st.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Councillor Kelly?
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Just 3 today. International Women's Day was this past Friday, and the city-sponsored event happened at Loyola School of Adult and Continuing Education for International Women's Day. There was storytelling, music. At one point on Friday, Loyola has 24 different nationalities attending school there, and it was a women and men's choir that got up. There wasn't a dry eye at Loyola that moment. Thanks to Mika Thorne and her team for putting this together. I know Kat Fisher, Queenie Immigration, was a part of it. Wonderful committee this year, and thanks to Councillor Brown and Councillor Thompson, Enright Miller, for coming to the event. That was wonderful. Thank you. Also, too, last Monday I was in Brockville for the merger talks with Public Health. just giving everybody an update on that. That's 3 areas: Hastings, Prince Edward, Kingston, Frontenac, and Leeds, Grenville. The shift now is going to go from 171,000 residents in public health for Hastings, Prince Edward, up to 585,000. The deadline for the province to get the submission in is April the 2nd, and talks continue. And next week there will be a meeting with the Tri-Merger Committee with Dr. Kieran Moore in Kingston to discuss public health. So that's where that's at. That's a big thing moving forward, and we don't want to lose any services. We want to enhance services for our neck of the woods. And lastly, I checked with Dean Hustwick, right behind me here. I wanted to get an update on the March Break program because a lot of parents were telling me their kids were going there. Well, we've got kids in JK to grade 2. They're doing camping and all kinds of wonderful things. And then we got kids from grade 3 to 8. Total of 48 kids. There's a long waiting list. So wish all the kids a great March break, safe one, and I know they're going to have lots of fun at the Quinte Sports and Wellness Center with the city event. Thank you.
Councilor Millet, did you have an announcement?
I did not.
Okay. Councilor Enright Miller.
Thank you, sir. I have the proclamation. On March 24th, we recognize World Tuberculosis Day. On this day in 1882, Dr. Robert Koch discovered the bacterium that causes tuberculosis, commonly referred to as TB, which is a deadly bacterial infection primarily affecting the lungs. Today, 140 years after Dr. Koch's discovery, TB continues to be one of the world's deadliest infectious diseases. In 2020, nearly 10 million people became ill with TB, while over 1.5 million people lost their lives to this disease. TB is a treatable, curable, and preventable disease. The illness and death associated with it are avoidable. The City of Belleville supports organizations and individuals committed to raise awareness about diseases, conditions, and illness that affect all Canadians through education, fundraising, and support. The health and well-being of our community can be improved. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Enright Miller. Councilor Alsop.
Yes, thank you, Chair. We don't usually do a second round on these,
that's
but
what I
I
was
thought
wondering.
I would
We
be
changed the
remiss
rules.
if I didn't mention that the Easter Bunny is at Quinte Mall. And so if people are looking for fun things to do with their kids, my kids and I went on Sunday. It was a great time seeing the Easter Bunny. They do have photos available. But if you're looking for something to do with your kids, it's a great way to get out. You can cruise the toy store for free afterwards. And really great. That's what we did. And yeah, it was really great to see the Easter Bunny. The kids loved it, and just a fun thing for people to do if they're looking.
I'll take my second son, Councilor Millet, next week. Chris, we'll get on that one, okay? Having said that, I need a confirmatory bylaw resolution that bylaw number 2024-43, a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on March 11th, 2024. Be read a first, second, third time, finally passed this 11th day of March 2024. Councilor Chatton, Councilor Enright Miller, I got that right? And all in favor, carried. Motion to adjourn, Councilor Thompson, Councilor Carr, all in favor, carried.